This week on Horror News Radio, we finally get our first glimpse at Shane Black's The Predator. Jordan Peele reveals his next horror film, Us, and we take a look at Benson and Moorehead's The Endless.
This is episode 264, recorded May 14th, 2018.
Civil defense officials in Cumberland have told newsmen that murder victims showed evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. The Survival Command Center at the Pentagon has disclosed that a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull.
I am your host, Dr. Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net. Starting off with Dave Dreher. He's the lead news writer at Gruesome Magazine. Dave, how you doing?
Well, Heidi Ho, Doc.
Heidi Ho. Heidi Ho.
That's gonna be my new catchphrase. Heidi Ho, Doc.
Oh no!
You like it?
Can we do that without copyright infringement? I don't know.
All right. Well, never mind. Then I'll keep working on it.
We might anger the mouse, but we'll give it a shot. But it's good to have you back. It's been a few weeks, and it's good to hear your voice, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. Same here. Yes. Good to get back into the swing, if you will.
The swing. Also joining us this week is the one and only Vanessa Thompson. She is the co-host of the Gruesome Magazine podcast. Vanessa, how you doing?
Howdy-ho.
Oh, no. Now we're all hidey-ho.
Too much.
Oh, look what I've started.
I'm doomed. All right. Well,
I know.
I'm glad to have you here as we fire up Horror News Radio once again. Those who have been listening for many, many moons might know that we took a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. Things are looking up, and we're glad to be back and glad to be talking horror. We have a lot of stuff on the plate. We have a lot of horror news of the week, and we're going to be talking The Endless. So this is going to be fun, and I'm glad you guys are here to join me to do it.
We are glad to be here. Well, at least I am. I can't speak for Vanessa, but I'm glad to be here.
You can speak for me in this case, Dave. I definitely am glad to be back.
Well, we want to go ahead, even though we're a little late, we want to wish everyone out there a happy Mother's Day. There's all the Mrs. Voorheeses and Mrs. Bates out there.
Yeah. Yes, social media had run amok with them yesterday.
They were everywhere.
I know. It's my favorite part because they make such a gruesome scene just look so cute and adorable. Even a mother would love it.
There's been a couple movies Mother's Day, haven't there, Dave?
Oh yes, good old Mother's Day. That was a horrendous movie, wasn't it?
No,
my gosh! I mean, just what it was. I remember seeing. I was a kid when I seen it. That's not a movie a kid should have been watching.
Yeah, back in the 80s. I think they remade it, didn't they, in the early 2000s?
Yeah, Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, let's move on. We are heading out and about this spring and summer. Is spring already done? We've kind of said we weren't going to do weather things, but damn, it's hot.
Yeah, it feels like it's over here in North Carolina.
But in May, here this very weekend as you're listening to this, May 18th through the 20th, 2018, we're heading to Charlotte, North Carolina for Days of the Dead. Vanessa, you're going to be there.
I am. I'm so excited because on Saturday I'm debuting a new cosplay. You guys might want to hail to it if we'll give you a little hint. And then on Sunday I'll be Elvira.
That always works. Always works. Yes. So also joining us there that weekend will be Christopher G. Moore and Chad Hunt. It's going to be a fun weekend. So come by.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, come by and say hey. And then in August we'll be going up to Williamsburg, Virginia for Scares That Care weekend. That's August 3rd through the 5th, 2018. And looking forward to that. That should be a blast. But Dave, are you?
Yes, yes, Doc. Yes.
This is all you, man. Are you ready for Horror News of the Week?
We got a lot to talk about this week.
We do. Shall we get started?
Let's do it. Well, I always hate when we have to start off a newscast like this, but it happens way too frequently of late. But just today, as we're recording this on Monday, we heard of the passing of Margot Kidder, 69 years old. Of course, deep genre roots. I remember first seeing her in Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas. We all remember that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think she's probably other than the original Superman movie. Of course, Amityville Horror is the horror film.
Oh yeah.
That's so associated with her, but she was in so much more. I honestly didn't even know she was ill or she was sick. I knew she'd had some mental health issues, which she was very, very open about. Vanessa, you'd mentioned in the pre-show that you kind of admired her for her courage that she showed in facing those demons.
Absolutely. She was the type of person who could take the criticism and the jokes and, Family Guy making her into a crazy person, as everyone thought she was, and say, okay, but here's the truth about mental health and mental illness and what people deal with and why meltdowns like that in public happen. So it's just someone that she wasn't a traditional beauty. She had her own sense of beauty, and that's why people loved her and her way of acting, and she was a strong personality and so many admirable characteristics in her, especially for young women growing up.
Doc, what's your Margot Kidder remembrance?
Oh, definitely. Between Superman and Amityville Horror, that's, but she was also in Sisters.
Yeah.
Along with dozens and dozens of other films. But between the Superman films and those few horror films, between the 70s and early 80s, she was everywhere. But unfortunately, by the 90s, things took a hard turn for her. I didn't realize she had an accident that happened 2 years before all the stuff you were talking about, Vanessa. That kind of sent her into bankruptcy and everything. So her story is tragic at times, but yet she was able to. And then she had another accident in the early 2000s where she broke a hip or something like that. Wow, she just had it rough. But then she bounced back and got her acting career back in place and won an Emmy not too many years ago.
Yeah, wasn't that for The Haunting Hour, R.L. Stine?
It was.
Yeah. Yep. And she made a movie with Tom Savini, actually, as well. I remember when that went down, a movie called Death Foretold. I believe Tom killed her in the film. I think. I have to go back and rewatch it. That was quite a while ago. But I remember when it happened. It wasn't long after, it was one of the first movies I think she did after her mental health issues. I have it here somewhere. I'm now have to watch it with her passing. But Amityville Horror was a landmark film for me in my horror career, and her part in that is amazing. So she's certainly going to be missed. It kind of shocked me when Doc actually texted me about it today. I was sitting at work. I'm like, seriously? Come on.
Yeah, it's one of those that hits you right in the heart.
Yeah, but she passed in her sleep, so she went peacefully. So she
went peacefully. Well, rest in peace.
Yes.
And speaking of Days of the Dead, she used to go to cons and just meet fans all day long, take pictures. It was such a wonderful, kind person to fans.
I never had the opportunity to meet her. I don't think she was ever at any of the shows that I've attended. And if she was, I never got to see her, but I wish I would have.
Me too.
Well, rest in peace, ma'am. Always tough to move along to other stories after you have to announce something like that. But Doc, I'm very interested in what you think about this next story. We got our first look at Shane Black's The Predator. We've gone to The Predator now. Not just Predator, It's the Predator.
The is important, right?
The is important. So what did you think of this? What was your take on your gut reaction when you first watched it?
My gut reaction. Well, we've been waiting for this trailer for some time. The film was originally set to come out, if I'm not mistaken, around this time, but then got pushed back and then pushed back again. It's now coming out in, was it late August, September?
I think it said September.
Yeah, I believe
in the article.
Yes.
Right. It keeps
September 14th.
September 14th. Keep losing track of this one. But we've been waiting, and we, after a week long of hints from various actors, it dropped, and we finally got our first look at it. And it's got me excited for the film, but it doesn't have me 100% sold on it. My excitement comes from what I know about the film, not necessarily the trailer. And I'm not certain what that says.
I'm very confused, Doc.
But the cast looks great. The story looks great. It has basically an urban feel to it. It's going to be in a neighborhood setting as opposed to a city or like the second one, or the jungles like the first. We have the father of the boy who ends up with the mask, right? It ends up with a mask that and some weapons that he ends up attracting the predator down. And his father is a special agent, and he ends up gathering a bunch of others to kind of do battle with him. And it doesn't sell that, though. It doesn't quite reach the story inside the trailer itself to kind of promote what the film actually is. So I'm a little confused. What about you, Vanessa? What about you? What do you think of the Predator?
I'm there with you, Doc. Confusion, because the trailer itself looks great. And the cast is phenomenal. You got Keegan-Michael Key. You have Jacob Tremblay, who's like the most adorable youngster ever on film. Jake Busey. Let us not forget Jake Busey.
Yeah, he's actually playing the son of Gary Busey's character from Predator 2.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's kind of interesting, intriguing. We'll go with
intriguing. But I was saying earlier, movies these days just look too good. They just look so polished and put together and shiny and lens flary. And, Predator was gritty and sweaty, and it just had a different feel to it. So I am torn and maybe confused, like you, Doc, over how I'm going to feel about this.
Well, you, Dave?
Well, in watching it, my gut reaction was it reminded me very much of Requiem, Predator loose in suburbia, and we've kind of already done that with that Alien versus Predator Requiem. Remember that movie? I'm sure you've tried to erase it from your memory.
Barely, but yes, you're right. That did happen.
But it had that same vibe kind of going for it a little bit to me. I'm actually more excited to read about it than what I've seen. So I guess I'm kind of in your guys' court on that one. I love the cast. I love that Olivia Munn's in it. Edward J. Olmos, Sterling K. Brown. It's got a fantastic cast. So I'm just going to say maybe they just cut a bad trailer. I think this one might be worthy of our time.
I want it to be, but we definitely need a better trailer to sell it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is supposedly just the teaser trailer. This isn't the actual trailer. So
the trailer?
The trailer. Teaser trailer. So hopefully when we get a full trailer, a full theatrical trailer, we'll be impressed beyond belief.
I think so.
Speaking of being impressed beyond belief, I love this next story. Of course, the Pet Sematary remake, I think we've talked about it on previous shows. Not really a fan of the idea of them remaking this one. but I really don't have a leg to stand on because I kind of tie that all on the fact that I so love Fred Gwynne's performance as Judd Crandall. And as we learned from it is possible to remake a classic King character and actually make it better or at least as good as the original time around. So, but when I heard this casting news, I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm sold. John Lithgow has signed on to portray Judd Crandall, which I think is some incredibly inspired casting. I'm actually excited for this one now. Did you guys, upon hearing the news, have a similar reaction, or do we not care?
Oh, yes. I love John Lithgow, and he's such a phenomenal actor in whatever he chooses to do. But I think in this particular role, we're going to see magic.
Yeah, as soon as I heard this, Dave, I knew you were going to be happy. I knew it. Because it was not too long ago, we were talking about this film and we were talking about who would they cast, who would they do it, and we took out some, we threw out some guesses. We got nowhere near John Lithgow, but it is inspired. I think it is. I think they did it. That's the right one to do.
They did it. This actually inspired me to go back and watch season 4 of Dexter.
Over the last, that was a good idea on your part, because that's a good season. That's a good season.
Well, it is, and he is so amazing. Lithgow is so amazing. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you know or not, but I believe he won an Emmy for playing the Trinity Killer.
Oh, wow.
And I think he did. I'd have to go check my facts there, but my recollection is that he did. But he is so good in that. And I strongly advise, if you have no interest in seeing Dexter at all, watch season 4, because it is mesmerizing, or Lithgow is mesmerizing, as is Michael C. Hall playing against him, actually. But a brilliant season. Might just be the single best season of a horror show ever. And it's on Netflix, so you can't beat it. Sit down and watch it. But yeah, I really honestly can't wait for this one now.
Doc, didn't they just add Pet Sematary to Shudder?
The original one they did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
so if you want to go back and check it out,
there's something really cool we can add to that. We have teamed up with Shudder here recently, and if you do so and use our promo code, the promo code is Gruesome, GRUESOME, you can get a full 30 days free trial. The first
Did you see what else is on there? For us Stephen King fans, It's on there now. The original one. Cat's Eye is on there now, and the original Salem's Lot, the David Soul Salem's Lot, is on there now.
It is.
And Creep Show.
Creep Show, which I just watched the other day.
I may never come out of my man cave again.
No. Salem's Lot is a tough one to get without watching a really crappy version of it. So I'm looking forward to getting that one fired up.
Yeah, well, we got a little off the subject there. John Lithgow, Pet Sematary, horror gold, I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
Another remake we got coming down the pike is the Twisted Twins remake, the Soska sisters remake of David Cronenberg's Rabid. Another one that I really wasn't too sure about. I wasn't. Have both of you seen the original Rabid, Cronenberg's Rabid, with Marilyn Chambers?
I have not.
Doc, have you seen it?
I hate to admit it. I wish you hadn't asked me. That's the one I haven't seen.
It was ever again growing up. It was one of those that you've seen sitting on the shelf in the VHS store, and the cover was mesmerizing. I honestly, and I'm probably going to take heat for this, I never really cared for the film that much. So I'm thinking this one might be ripe for a remake. And Jen and Sylvia, again, a little bit of inspired casting here. They've brought Laura Vandervoot on to play Rose, who is the main character in the film. You probably don't know her name, but if you see her picture, you'll know who she is. She was in, I remember her from Bitten, which used to be on Sci-Fi Channel, but she was just in the last Saw film. She was the main lead in the last Saw film. And she was also in the remake of V that was on. So I know her mainly from those other two. But I think this is some good casting. She's a very good actress. I think she'll do well on this. The basic premise of the story is about this Rose. She gets scarred beyond recognition during an accident. She undergoes this radical stem cell treatment thing, and things don't go well. The original, of course, being Cronenberg, was a huge body horror type of thing. I don't know that the Soskas will remain with that. They haven't really said. But again, you got kind of a powerhouse thing going on here. Twisted Twins make great movies. Mm-hmm. Laura Vandervoot is a good actress. Classic horror tale. I don't know if this one can miss.
I think this is. I think this is a remake to look to keep our eyes on. The Soska sisters are a good choice for this film, this content, in my opinion, and I am exceptionally satisfied with this choice in casting. It looks like it's going to be on the nose, and I think they're going to give us something different and special, but yet I would imagine, given their, how they embrace the horror genre, they're going to give it a lot of respect too. They're going to honor the original film without, in some ways that maybe some other, teams don't.
Without pooping all over it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Without pooping all over it. There will be very little poopage in this. So I'm this helps put it on my radar. Yes, definitely.
You know what I think is great about stuff like this? I don't necessarily know the source material, but it makes me want to, because I like the Soska sisters. I like what they bring to the table. And when you start seeing these remakes come out from the new generation of horror, if it's something you haven't seen before, it kind of relights that fire for your love of the genre.
Yeah, as far as remakes go, I think this one is a good choice because outside of hardcore horror fans, I think, Johnny Q Public probably won't even realize it's a remake.
Very strong case. And I think the original came out like on 75 or something?
Yeah, it was a long time.
Something like that. And I just noticed, have I been saying their name wrong all this time? I keep saying Soska. Is it Soska?
I thought it was Soska, but it could be Soska.
You say Soska, I say Soska.
I think they'll be glad we're saying their name.
That might well be. Well, let us know, Twisted Twins, so we get it right.
I'm glad they're finally making it because we've been hearing about it for some time. So,
yeah, they haven't really been working in the film arena. They were doing that. What was it? Elevator,
mm-hmm.
Scaravator, something.
Elevator.
Scaravator. Hey, Nancy.
We also got some news for another film that I think we might be anticipating. I'm not 100% sure of our anticipation level on this one. Doc, what have we found out about the Puppet Master remake?
Well, this is a reboot of sorts of the franchise Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich. Okay. All right. That either excites you or makes you very nervous, that title. But we are hearing really good things about this film. It debuted recently. We're wondering when it's going to come out. There are some really cool things about this. One of it is that it's written by S. Craig Zahler, who did Bone Tomahawk and recently Brawl in Cell Block 99. And he actually wrote this, and that's exciting to me because I love the films he's been writing. It's directed by Sonny Laguna and Tommy Wicklund. Sonny Laguna did We Are Monsters. Tommy Wicklund did Wither. Barbara Crampton is involved. She is a producer and is also has a small role in it. Udo Kier is in it as the leader of the Littlest Reich, and even Michael Pare. Is it Pare or Pere? He's Eddie and the Cruisers guy.
Pere.
it looks bonkers. It's I've heard it's gory as all get out. I just heard great things, and I've never been a huge Puppet Master fan, but what I'm hearing about this has excited me greatly. Now, the good news. Why were we talking about this tonight? We finally have a release date, Dave. Dave, we know when this is coming out.
We know when the Puppet Master invasion will begin.
Yes, the Little Reich will arrive August 17th, 2018.
And it is going to be theatrical, correct?
It is. But it might be a small release. Ba-dum-bum.
The dreaded the limited theatrical.
Yes. Release. Yes, but I don't know. Alamo Drafthouse might do it. What do you think, Vanessa?
I hope so. If they show it anywhere, I hope it would be there because I so enjoy catching movies there.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that here in a bit. Dave.
We will?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious to see where they go with this because it looks like they're still going to pay homage to the original series, but it really doesn't have anything to do with it per se. They're going to. I mean, they mentioned the Toulon murders, but this is done on the anniversary of the Toulon murders, so I guess they're going to kind of ignore everything that happened with what are they up to in the actual Puppet Master series now, like 11 or 12
25 or something.
Something like that.
I was going to say what it is that they have like bought replicas of the original puppets like on eBay or had people make them, and they show up at this place, a convention, and a certain group of them actually have found their way to buying the original ones.
I have a bunch of them in my garage.
There you go.
I'm kind of scared now. I start hearing knocks at the door.
So yes, it looks. I'm all in. Let's do it.
Not too long to wait. Only a couple months.
Oh, right around the corner.
We'll be here before we know it, right?
Look at all that gore.
All that puppet mayhem. Bring on the puppets.
It's puppet madness. It is. That's what I'm saying. Speaking of madness, The Purge is coming to a TV series. I think we already knew this. It was reported on a previous episode, I think.
We did.
Again, another one that was kind of maybe a little lower on my care about list. But it is climbed up again because of some great casting. We found out that Fiona Dourif has been taking the lead role in this TV series. I honestly don't know too much about this because I'm not a huge fan of the Purge series. Vanessa, Doc, either of you have any information on this as I kind of stumble through this one?
I'm going to go first and say I have never seen any of the Purge films. So maybe that makes me a bad horror fan, but there was something about it that I didn't like, and then the Rick and Morty episode of the Purge Planet came out. I was like, oh, I'm good. I get it. But I am excited about Fiona Dourif because I love, and this is just me almost talking about her like she's not a real person, but I love a legacy, especially when it's coming from Brad Dourif, when your dad is Brad Dourif, and then you take up the mantle of wanting to be in horror films. Like, that's so awesome to me.
Yeah, she is a favorite here at H&R. We loved her in Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky and various other films, and I am excited to see her in a regular TV show, especially, well, it might as well be The Purge, because it will definitely elevate that show, as you were saying, Dave. It makes it far better because she's in it. And if I understand the news right, she's the lead. Yes?
That's the way I'm reading. Yes, that's what she's going to play. This is worded very oddly. Offbeat good leader Tavis.
Nah, that is odd. But with The Purge, you never know, right? That's the thing. So, but now the Purge TV series looks good.
It looks better than it did.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm going to go with good quite yet. I'm not sure we need to see that weekly. I mean, how much of that can we see, really? You know what I mean?
It's
kind of a one-trick pony.
Maybe.
It's saying she's a cult leader, so I'm certain they're going to delve into that and give you more explanation of the purge and the people involved in it. And I don't know. You walk the fine line there of getting a little bit boring when you get too in-depth into story, when you have a movie with a somewhat basic plot line like The Purge.
It depends on the conflict they build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Very true.
If they just use The Purge as a canvas and then they paint something really awesome on it, it'll, they definitely have a landscape in which they could build, a pretty intricate series of stories. You could have multiple storylines intertwining. There's possibilities here, at least in my brain.
Have they said where it's going to air? I mean, has somebody picked it up already?
I think I saw USA and Sci-Fi are both going to carry it.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, we'll hope for the best. Again, bringing Miss Dorff on is a huge step in the right direction. Seldom does a week go by that we don't talk about Stephen King, at least once or twice, as we're discussing the genre. We got news of a new Netflix adaptation, again coming hot on the heels of 1922 and Gerald's Game. What are we going to get next to the streaming service?
Well, this adaptation of Stephen King and Joe Hill's In the Tall Grass. Now, Joe Hill, of course, is Stephen King's son. Now, this should make you very happy, Dave, that they're doing this. We'll ask about this particular story here in just a second. But what makes me happy is the person that is set to direct this adaptation. It's Vincenzo Natali, who is a favorite director of mine. I first realized who he was when he released Splice 5, 6, 10 years ago. And he's gone on to direct some of my favorite episodes of Hannibal and Westworld. He is a very talented, he has such great style in his camera work. And I am looking forward to see what he can do with the Stephen King material. Now, Dave, having said that, what is In the Tall Grass all about?
It's a very simple story that is incredibly terrifying. It's actually a novella that King and Joe wrote together. The premise could not be simpler. A brother and a sister out playing hear a kid crying for help, and they wander off into this field of high grass. They're out in the country in Oklahoma or Kansas somewhere, and they find out that maybe being in the tall grass ain't the best place to be. and it goes in directions that again, I don't want to give too much away. It goes in directions that there is absolutely no way you can anticipate. So this would make for a riveting Netflix event, I think.
Yes, and Netflix and Stephen King have been making a good pair here recently, so let's keep that up.
Yeah, and Natali, he did Cube too, right?
He did, yes.
Yeah, he's got a visual flair all his own. So this could be something epic.
Oh, I hope so. Anything Stephen King puts out or that is turned into a movie, good, bad, indifferent, I'm gonna just eat up. And then, as you're describing this story, which is one of them I haven't read, but it falls in line with his just simplicity of storytelling and just taking the mundane and making it terrifying. I'm really, really excited to see it. I'm glad it's coming to Netflix. We've said this time and time again, Netflix is just doing right by the genre. And I'll take it all. Everything they put out or bring and want to stream, I will take it.
Well, I was concerned what they were going to do with Gerald's Game, and we've seen how well that went. Again, this is another one of those stories. It's very cerebral. It's very, it's a very personal experience as you're reading it. I grew up in the country. I grew up with a field right down at the end of the street. I was able to kind of place myself in this story, if you will. I'm excited to see where they go with this one. This was one of my my favorite King stories, and him and Joe Hill write so well together. They literally write with one voice. You can't tell where one started and another, where one ends and another begins. It's a great novella, and I hope it's going to be a great film. We also got, speaking of huge horror, iconic films, of course, Get Out. Jordan Peele's Get Out was massive for the genre, and we got our first word on what his follow-up film is going to be. Vanessa, I know you know all about it.
Yes, so Oscar winner Jordan Peele is going to bring us a movie called Us. Says it's set to release March 15th, 2019. Looks like he's trying to make a deal with Winston Duke and Lupita Nyong'o, who has just had a phenomenal career, and we just saw her in Black Panther. I'm glad that he's staying in horror, because this is going to be a horror film. Says that's going to deal with an interracial couple. Says, let's see. So Nyong'o is going to be the wife. Play one. Let's see, if a deal is, I'm having to read it a little bit because I'm jumping around. So it says, if the deal is made, Winston Duke and Lupita Nyong'o would play one couple, while Elizabeth Moss would play the part of another couple. So it looks like we're going to have two. Again, we're going to deal with race relationships, and then we're going to bring the horror aspect into it. I can't wait to see. He's a phenomenal writer. I cannot wait to see what he brings to the table. I wish it had more in the article, because it's just such a tiny little taste of what it's going to be.
It's a tease.
It is a tease.
It is, in fact, a tease. Interesting that Elizabeth Moss is going to be in it. I like her quite a bit, and he seems to. I think you guys know this about me. I am like the world's biggest West Wing geek. Remember the show The West Wing? It used to be on NBC. Yeah, I love it. Now, of course, he had Bradley Whitford in Get Out, and now he's got Elizabeth Moss, who played Zoe. In this one, what's the West Wing connection?
Yeah, talk about pressure. His sophomore effort is going to have so much pressure on it. They already have a release date for this. Of course, it's going to be co-produced with Jason Blumhouse, and Monkey Paw Productions is the other one. And the date that they already have locked in, March 15th, 2019.
Just about a year. A little less than it now. They better get filming.
They better get rocking, man. I'm looking forward to it already.
Bring it on. Doc, I know this next story is kind of near and dear to you. I know you actually seen the original, I think, just a couple days ago, didn't you? Tell us about this remake of The Changeling.
All right. Yes. Peter Medek's The Changeling from 1980. It's It has a small cult following, I think. For me, it has always been one of my favorite haunted house films. It's a little small Canadian film. George C. Scott was the lead in it, and it has it just has this great cast, a great mood. It's a slow burn, and I recently got to see it at the Carolina Theater here in Durham, North Carolina. They have a remaster of it that they're playing all week, and I got to see it over the weekend. And it was great to see it on the big screen. I will admit, reluctantly, that I can see it starting to age. So the idea that they want to make a remake for this film that not a lot of people are aware of. Most horror fans, really, tried and true horror fans know of it, but not necessarily everyone. And this is a good one to do it. It could be modernized, and it could be ramped up to be a little scarier. But okay, I'm not entirely upset with this choice, but it's got me a little nervous. The director is Mark Steven Johnson. Now, Mark Steven Johnson directed Daredevil, the movie, not the TV show. And he also directed Ghost Rider, among other things. Now, I like both of those films for some reasons, but they aren't exactly films that people cherish nowadays for superhero films. And I don't know if it makes I don't know if it makes him a good candidate to remake this particular film, because it needs so much atmosphere and mood. I hope he can bring it. Dave, what do you think?
You know, I mean, I hate to admit it has been so long since I've seen The Changeling. I really remember so little about it. I'm going to have to seek this one out. Because that came out in what, 80?
1980.
Yeah, I think that's the last time I've seen it.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to have to revisit it. My age-addled mind is remembering it as kind of dull at the time. But again, I haven't literally seen it for literally decades. So I'm going to have to revisit it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm okay with this. I'm kind of like, whatever, bring it on.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what will happen by the time it actually gets, behind a camera or in front of a camera? But yeah, just it's there. So it was really ironic that I'm heading out to go see it, and this news pops up. It's kind of odd.
You've talked about it several times in the course of conversations throughout our many years of doing these podcasts. So,
Vanessa, are you familiar with this film?
So, The Changeling has been on my list to watch for a while. I haven't gotten to it yet. Like I said, I like that they're doing these horror remakes because it brings the classic to people's attention. And I always think that that's good because people get to see where the new stuff is coming from. But yeah, I'll have to tell you after I watch The Changeling, Doc.
There you go. Now you got homework. You just gave yourself homework.
Yes, I
do. You got to love a side gig that gives you homework.
Right?
You get the last story of the night, Vanessa. We heard about, again, we're going to head to Netflix for some more big horror news. Tell us what that news is.
Yes, Netflix. Netflix is bae right now because they are, like I said, killing it. And they are going to reteam with Guillermo del Toro and bring us 10 After Midnight, which is going to be an anthology series he's putting together. A little snippet here says it is described as a collection of the Oscar-winning filmmaker's personally curated stories, and it's described as both equally sophisticated and horrific. From what I can tell in the article, he's putting these stories together and, it doesn't, is that all it tells us? Man, these articles are not giving me enough juice right now.
Need more juice.
Need more juice, but no.
They just like to tease you. They just want to give you enough to get you a little excited, but they don't.
Don't they know how angry that makes a woman? No. Well, with that alone, I have to say, they could just say Guillermo del Toro and Netflix, and it's case closed. I'm going to watch it. Whatever they put out, I'm going to watch. Guillermo del Toro's phenomenal. I mean, nobody can say different. He brought Troll Hunters to Netflix, and that's been I can't even say if it's been a cult favorite or if it's been more of an overall favorite. He kind of walks the line there. I mean, he's going to have all the genre fans on his side. But look at The Shape of Water. How many Oscars did that win, Doc?
Bukus,
exactly.
That's an official term.
Oscars.
A bunch.
So, yeah, you get this guy. He's coming to Netflix. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Okay, so this news makes me nervous, but it has enough of the right things in it to make me a little bit more confident of this one than all the other Guillermo del Toro news is that we've been getting here over the past, since Oscar time, right? He's directing everything and a part of everything. And there's been, he's doing this, he's doing that. This one with Netflix, because I feel like this one is a little bit more highly possible that actually something will come out of it because he is doing Troll Hunter there. He's 2 seasons are out and he's third season is already marked to happen. So he's just producing that, but he is involved and stuff is happening there. So it's a little bit different than all these other things where we hear things but we never see any movement. So I have higher hopes with this. And an anthology show on Netflix. Well, that's worked before too. There's been a couple of them. Black Mirror, they picked that up and did a really good job with it. So I think this is a good combination of talent and location to put the talent in. And Yeah. Dave, what about you? Excited?
Yeah. Netflix is good. I gained a lot of respect for Mr. Del Toro with The Shape of Water. Again, no big secret. I've never been a giant fan of a lot of his work, but The Shape of Water, his truly heartfelt passion for monsters is just kind of awe-inspiring. It really is, and I love The Shape of Water. So I'm going to carry that love into this 10 After Midnight, and hope it holds true into what what I've seen coming from him of late. So, and again, Netflix really they just can't do any wrong right now. So if Netflix says it's good, I'm going to believe them.
Me too.
Dave, I think I hear Chris Moore screaming somewhere over your comment about Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. Again, I know I'm definitely in the minority on those things, but I've got to be honest to myself. It just a lot of his earlier work just didn't ring true to me. But that all changed with The Shape of Water. I see what you all been seeing for years now. The light has gone off, if you will.
You smell what we're cooking. Yeah, okay.
Yes, I finally woke the hell up.
About time, Dave.
You know what? After all that marathon of news, I think we've reached the end. That is enough news. I am calling a news timeout until next week. You two go stand in the corner and you don't give me any more news until next week.
Oh,
you hear
no.
Me?
I got to hold on to that news. All right. Well, we'll have more next week. That's for certain. All right. Our feature topic tonight is The Endless. Dave, the reason why I said we would be talking about the Alamo Drafthouse, because Vanessa and I saw this at the Alamo Drafthouse here recently.
We did.
And they opened up one here in Raleigh, and it is incredible. It instantly became my favorite theater here locally. Wish it was just a little closer. But they have, is it Video Vortex? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, Video Vortex. It's just so cool. Everything that's in there is cool. It's got old posters on the walls, like obscure old posters with foreign titles with phenomenal artwork that you saw from, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, hand-painted artwork. You have free VHS and DVD rentals of stuff you will not find anywhere. Most of the stuff you can't find streaming. Sometimes you can't find it for purchase on Amazon. I love the Alamo. I am from Texas, so how can I not love something called the Alamo?
Exactly. And they played The Endless. This is from directors Justin Benson and Aaron Moorehead. They did films like Spring is one that we've covered before here on the show. It was on Joseph Perry's friend of the show. It was on and previous writer here at Gruesome Magazine. It was on his top 10 list last year or the year before? Last year. It might even have been his number one. He loves these guys and loves this film. And there's good reason. We'll talk about that here in a second. But Justin Benson wrote it. Justin Benson also stars in it, along with Aaron Moorehead, along with Tate Ellington, Callie Hernandez, Emily Montag, James Jordan, Kira Powell, and Lou Temple, who did a great job. Here is the synopsis for The Endless. The mind-bending thriller follows two brothers who receive a cryptic video message inspiring them to revisit the UFO death cult they escaped from a decade earlier. Hoping to find closure that they couldn't as young men, they're forced to reconsider the cult's beliefs when confronted with unexplainable phenomena surrounding the camp. As the members prepare for the coming of a mysterious event, the brothers race to unravel the seemingly impossible truth before their lives become permanently entangled with the cult. That's a pretty good description that leaves out all the really cool stuff that happens along with it, right?
Oh, man, this movie's so cool. It's Lovecraftian theme, and they do it so well and so... It's a slow burn, which is a characteristic of Lovecraft, but man, it's just beautiful. And the interaction between the actors, phenomenal.
Yeah, since it is the directors, they do a great job at it, and they're very compelling. You really get drawn into their relationship. They play brothers, and because they're such great friends and co-directors been working together for years, you feel that bond between them. It comes across on the screen, and it's you just feel like you're really on this adventure with them, and you get sucked in pretty quick, and it slowly teases you as you're going along of what's actually happening on the edges and the fringes of it as it starts to close in on them, and it's I'll only share one thing. We're going to try not to spoil this one, but at one point we see 2 moons. And the story revolves around what happens when you see 3. And it's explained as this phenomenon, I just did air quotes, that is only local to them, something like fracturing the light and stuff, but it's all a ruse. There's something very devious going on. And there's characters like, oh man, what is the one guy's name that it's a hilarious name?
Shitty Carl.
Shitty Carl, of course it's Shitty Carl. All right. He's great. There's 2 other fellows you've seen a film that you may recognize if you've seen other films from these guys. I won't say any more because if I do, it might give too much away. But the cult themselves are very interesting. There's a variety of characters that give you different aspects and of what's going on, and you kind of get hints of this, or you get sometimes they're red herrings, and and then another character comes along and reveals something devious happening, and then you have this guy, Smiling Dave, who all he does is smile, and there's a really great scene where he goes off into the darkness, and you think he's involved something, and then when you're convinced he is, you turn around and he's in the back of the group and he's nowhere near where you think he is. So you're like, what's that mean? What does that mean? And, you're scratching your head for a lot of it. But I've talked a lot. Vanessa, what you said it was a slow burn, but it pays off. So how much did you like this?
I loved it. I love when directors and writers can get Lovecraft right, because it's so difficult, and it can be very overplayed because everybody wants to do their take on Lovecraft. They stayed very true to what I don't think it's too much to say, an elder god kind of thing would be. You get some imagery that is just so beautiful. There's, we were talking about the brothers. Let me just say that. Their relationship is spot on, because you have the older brother, who's played by Justin Benson, who goes by Justin, and then younger brother Aaron played by Aaron Moorehead, goes by Aaron. They have this relationship where the older brother is basically in control of the younger brother's life since they've left the cult at I think it wasn't called Camp Arcadia. I think that's what it was called. Yes, it was. So you see kind of this struggle. They're trying to live this life. Everything has gone terrible for them. They're looked at as these crazy people from this UFO death cult. They are working as they clean houses for a living. They're barely making ends meet. And Aaron just keeps thinking back to how good the cult was and how he doesn't remember it being as bad as his older brother said it was. And he plays that off on him just being younger. But when they leave the cult, they're not young children. They're young adults at this point. And so you get this back and forth until at one point Aaron's like, I need to go back. I need closure. And that leads us into the story of what happens at Camp Arcadia. You get this real dual view of what could have happened in the cult, because Justin sees it as the worst, most damning experience on his life, where Aaron saw it as loving and complete. And he even mentions, you get to eat real fresh food there, because they've been surviving off ramen for what feels like 10 years. And the cult looks that way when they first go back. It's beautiful and green and everyone's getting along. There's enough food for everybody. But at the same time, you get that little feeling of, well, something's not quite right here. And the catalyst to go back to the cult, or to the camp, I should say, because Justin wasn't 100% on board with it, is a VHS that's sent to them that they watch, that they believe is sent to them by the cult, because it shows a scene where they're getting ready for this, I think they called it the Ascension, Doc?
Yes, they did.
The Ascension, yeah. And you see it, and it looks culty, very culty, and it just kind of unfolds from there, and you don't know what to believe, who to believe, what to believe with your eyes that you're seeing. You know, you have 2 moons, and they're telling you, oh, well, it's the location of the camp. Is they equate it to the Aurora Borealis. You get a mirror effect because of gases and things around where the camp is. But it's really up to you as you're watching it to decide if that's true or not. I can't say enough about this. I love that it's an independent film done so beautifully. And I have to mention, when we went to the Alamo, I was talking to one of the guys that I think he was one of the managers, and he knew the directors personally. So it made me more excited to see it, to know that somebody that works at a place that I already love has a connection to a film that they're showing. And I just think that's super cool, and it's a super, super great it kind of has an Instagrammed feel to it when you're watching it. The cinematography a little bit yellowed. You can feel the heat when they're walking through different parts of the forest, or it's in California, so you get some what appears to be deserty parts. Just beautifully shot, well written, definitely worth the slow burn.
Yeah, and the cast is fantastic and really make all the effort of the directors and the script work. Justin and Aaron, we've already talked about them, but I want to mention Tate Ellington, who plays Hal. He's the cult leader, and that's a kind of a tough character to do without being over the top or comical or too satirical. And I thought he did a great job with it, especially when he ends up finally breaking down and confronting the brothers. That scene particularly pays off. Also, like Lou Temple, I thought you've probably heard of him before. He's been in various horror films and TV shows, and he plays one of the trusted. He plays Tim, who is Hal's advisor, and he guards this secret shack up on the hill, and
he's got a great look. I have to interject.
Yes,
great look in this film.
Yes, and the rest of the cast is great. Although let's just say James Jordan, Shitty Carl. Nobody beats James Jordan as Shitty Carl. Oh wow. Yeah,
it's such a disturbing portrayal of that character that you want to know more, but at the same time you don't really. Yeah,
once you get it, you're like, okay, stop. That's enough. You're gonna scare me. All right, let's wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score and favorite scene from The Endless. Go ahead, start us off.
Final thoughts. If this film is available to you to see on the big screen, please do, because there are some scenes that we're choosing not to discuss towards the end that you really need to see. It's like we said, so well written. So the VHS plays an integral part in the storyline. The interaction between the brothers, the interaction between them and the cult members who have been there the entire time. They didn't leave in these 10 years. You get peripheral characters like Shitty Carl, who just has a great name to say. Please check it out. Or if you can't check it out in the theater, wait till it's streaming, or I'm not sure if it's available to rent on Netflix, but if it does become available, spend the $5 and rent it. You're not going to be disappointed, especially if you're into Lovecraft. It's difficult for me to give a favorite scene without giving too much away, but I really appreciated one of the lines where they're talking about this whatever is going on at the camp. What's the big secret that's going on that nobody seems to really understand or wants to talk about. The reason that they're there, the thing that I guess that you could say they worship or are trying to learn more about. They mentioned something about it being a color that is beyond the spectrum of that our eyes can register, and so that's why you can't see it. Sometimes, maybe, I'm not going to say. It's almost a direct quote from The Color Out of Space, which is the name of a Lovecraft story where he's describing this elder god as being a color that does not exist in our realm, if you will. It's on a different dimension. Colors that we cannot perceive, older than us and greater than us. And I just thought that's doing your homework. That's wanting to honor the storyteller and be able to tell a story in that vein and to do it so beautifully. Just so many kudos to them. I got to give it a 5. I don't know.
Wow.
I really dug it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
The more I talk about it, the more I think about it. I love it.
Wow. I have to agree with you on almost every single point. This film was, it just drew you in. It draws you in almost on the strength of Justin and Aaron themselves as actors. I really was impressed with how well they drew these characters. Their bond, their brothers, and their story, it was engrossing, and you wanted to follow it. It was really well written. It's well directed. It is, I'm concerned that the pacing might be a little slow for, our, people that want Avengers and fast-paced action.
It's not that.
Yeah, for those who are interested in something that's going to take its time and kind of like an A24 film. It feels like A24 would have done this film some justice. But it's I like this film quite a bit. And I really liked a lot about it. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I imagine I'm going to be talking about this at the end of the year. And my favorite scene, okay, I got to go with Shitty Carl. You see Shitty Carl quite a lot briefly throughout the film, even when they first arrive at the camp. He storms by, and it becomes this kind of like, what the hell is going on with this guy? And then finally, Justin's character meets up with him, and they have a conversation. And that scene where he's introduced there is, without a doubt, my favorite scene in the entire film, because they handle the exposition of what they're doing with such finesse and such style and such excitement. But they're basically giving us exposition. but it's so, you're just like, what? And your your brain's melting, and it's awesome. Yes.
It is. It makes you take a deep breath, and you kind of gasp at what you're seeing and what you're being told, how the story is unfolding.
And what's crazy is you believe them.
Yes.
Dave, this is so well written. You would love this.
It sounds intriguing. It really does. When you mentioned it being a Lovecraftian type of base to the story, it gets my attention very, very quickly. And I know you guys have done a really good job of not really revealing anything. So if this one comes around, I will definitely check it out.
Well, I think we are both giving it some huge thumbs up, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's tough to do Lovecraft, and we've seen it done horribly, terribly, and it almost brings a tear to my eye how well they do it.
Yeah. Well, it helps that, they base it on the characters. The characters are the backbone of the story, and that helps a lot. But yeah, go check it out. The Endless, it's out there now. If you're lucky enough, if not, keep an eye out for it. It'll be out in there. Either you can stream it, like on a pay-per-view, or it'll be on Netflix or something similar soon, I hope. And I hope everybody gets a chance. When you do, make sure you let us know what you think. If you're interested in helping H&R, you can support H&R by going to Patreon. It's hnr.com/Patreon, and there's a variety of ways to help us out. We have polls that help us choose the Decades of Horror content. We have polls that help us do an H&R special, which we're going to get back into doing soon, right, Dave?
Yes.
And we also, if at the $5 mark and higher, we have these new stickers that we have. They're awesome for each month. So that's something to look to. Another way to help us out is go to horrornewsradio.com/tees. That's TEES, and you can get our T-shirts. When I went and saw the Changeling, Paul Cardullo went with me, and he had the Gruesome Magazine t-shirt with the big eyeball on it, and it looks fantastic.
You don't own one, Doc?
You know. I've got one on the way. Sure, yeah. You know, I don't own one. I have to remedy that quick. I don't know what happened. If you'd like to give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at feedback@horrornewsradio.com and let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the news we talked about. Let us know what you think of the Endless, or what you want to hear from us in the future. Whatever it is, we want to hear from you. And I just want to quickly just say thank you to all the people out there that have reached out to me over the past couple weeks and wished me well and wished us well, and we're eager for us to return. I so greatly appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I hope you are happy that we're back.
Yes. Well said, Sir Doc.
Let's thank Tyler at the Heart and Victory Records for use of their Kill Song Undead Anthem, which we use in the intro and outro of this podcast. Next week here, we are going to be talking about the Days of the Dead horror convention. That's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll have plenty of surprises there. We might throw a movie or two in there as well, but we'll have plenty of news, plenty of event stuff, and maybe we'll have some pics of Vanessa and her cosplay.
Ooh, if you're lucky.
Yes. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here this week, and with the return of H&R. Yay!
Woo! It was fun.
Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.